United States submarine base at Key West, Florida. A dispatch that quoted President Truman's press secretary, Charles Ross, as saying that President Truman has no knowledge of any secret project by this government that would give substance to the existence of such objects. Ross also said that both the Air Force and the Navy deny that such objects exist.
Hi.
Hi.
That was so loud.
Was it?
Oh my god,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
It's okay.
I cleared my throat and my pipes were ready for full resonance.
Yeah. Also, I'm not going to this is insider baseball, but I'm not going to make the font bigger. I'm just zooming in on my page because it will stress me out to see this turn into 30 pages because we did a lot of writing on this episode. But
wait, if we were to go 12-point font, double space, it's stressing me out already. 22 pages.
22
pages.
Yep, that sounds
if we go back to our 11-point font, 12 pages.
Okay, let's keep it at that. So, hey, what's up? My name is Noelle, and I am a nice hot cup of tea from Wynwood Farms, which is a company that we were so lucky to find. The best booth at the fucking convention, dude. They have like themed loose leaf teas. They come from a herb farm on the Big Island, and they are so fucking good. My favorite is Final Girl, which is passion fruit and peach, but I've been having, and this goes to how good they are. Not a sponsor. We just love them so much. They have an espresso blend that I have been having every morning over coffee.
Over coffee?
Over coffee. That's how fucking good it is.
Wow.
And I've been doing their belly detox tea today because I need to fit into a pair of pants that are a little tight and pleather. So that's who I am. They're so fucking good. Unbelievable. I love tea, but the quality of their tea has made me fall back in love with it.
Ooh. And I'm Chelsea, aka the Raven, which is also Wynwood Farms tea. This is a coffee replacement. It is chicory, yaupon, and a symphony of spices, including cinnamon, allspice, and cloves. As you savor each sip, let the echoes of Nevermore linger in the air, the essence of orange peel weaving a touch of brightness into the brooding depths. Oh, it's so
good. It's so good. I love it. My piss has never been clearer, I'll tell you that.
Oh, I be peeing because all I do all day is just drink teas now.
Yeah, it's so fun. But anyway.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
That has absolutely nothing to do with anything.
Nothing.
But
not even a good segue here.
But I don't want to give away what we're talking about just yet. So I'm going to just jump right into it.
Rock and roll.
Also, welcome to October. This is your first episode of Spooktober. 1487 would become an interesting time in history. The Catholic Church had just gone through a period of upheaval. The papacy, which is the office of authority of the Pope, was trying to reassert its power following the Great Schism of 1378 to 1417. When rival popes in Italy, and this is French, so it's like Avignon, divided you like that. Yeah. That was my 3 years of French coming out.
Beautiful.
Divided the Catholic world, damaged the church's prestige, and caused many to question the Pope's authority. And this is an editor's note here, kind of specifically to all of our hometown listeners. In this episode, when we reference the church, quote unquote, we're talking about the Catholic Church.
Yeah, so calm down, Mormons.
Calm the fuck down. Sorry, it's not always about you. In addition,
deep Utah cut there.
The Catholic Church was widely seen as corrupt during this time, which only fueled public distrust. Popes and bishops often lived in luxury, owning palaces and vast lands, while ordinary people struggled and even starved.
Yeah, so this was more than just an economic gap. It was total spiritual whiplash.
Freudian slip.
The
Freudian
same
slip.
leaders preaching humility and sacrifice were eating off gold plates and riding war horses. And that hypocrisy planted early seeds of revolt that would later explode in the Reformation.
The church sold indulgences, which were originally grants that reduced the amount of punishment a soul had to undergo for sins, either in this life or in purgatory. But by the late Middle Ages, indulgences were often sold for money, essentially allowing people to pay to reduce their time in purgatory or pay to forgive their sins, which low-key the Catholic Church still does. The church also engaged in simony, which is selling church offices for profit. Positions such as bishops or parish posts could be bought rather than earned through merit or spiritual qualification. Wealthier, influential families could purchase these high ranking positions, meaning clergy were often chosen for money or connections rather than holiness or competence.
Yeah, and this really created a feudal spiritual system, meaning that if your family had cash or political sway, you could literally buy religious authority, meaning that local priests could be businessmen, politicians first, and shepherds of the soul second.
This practice fueled nepotism and reinforced the perception that the Catholic Church was more interested in power and profit than in guiding the faithful. Then, of course, clergy were sometimes caught ignoring their spiritual duties or engaged in immoral behavior. This combination of political maneuvering, wealth, and moral lapse made the church appear more like a worldly institution ruled by human greed than a true spiritual authority.
And this is really where kind of the terrifying angle creeps in. Because when faith leaders act corrupt but still hold eternal damnation over people's heads, it breeds paranoia. So ordinary Christians started seeing sin and devilry everywhere, which is a perfect setup for what happens later.
For nearly 40 years, there were two and even three rival popes claiming to be the true head of the church during the schism, one in Rome, one in Avignon, and at one point, a third elected to try and resolve the crisis. Ordinary Christians witnessed multiple men, each claiming to be God's one true pope, with each excommunicating the others, creating chaos and confusion. This led many to question the papacy's supposed divine authority. If popes could disagree so violently, was the pope really the unquestionable leader of Christendom? The political consequences were significant. Kings and states took sides. France and its allies supported the Avignon Pope, while England and much of Germany backed the Roman Pope, further entrenching divisions within Europe. During the schism, some theologians argued that church councils and groups of bishops held more authority than a single pope. Even though the papacy later stamped down this idea, the fact that it gained traction showed the papal supremacy wasn't absolute anymore.
I feel like, was this during bubonic plague time?
Yes.
14. This is exactly what happened in Between Two Fires, that horror book you didn't like because the little girl in it sounded weird in the audible.
Yeah.
This is like why I know what's going on from a historical standpoint is because of Between Two Fires.
Yeah.
And I want to say Between Two Ferns so damn bad.
I know. I'm going to give Between Two Fires another chance, but I'm just going to physically read the copy. Everyone loves it so fucking much. And I know that I would have loved it because I was liking where it was going, but the voice was just taking me out.
I genuinely don't think it's for you.
You don't?
No.
You don't think that I wouldn't like a book about racist classism and withholding educational literature due to classism and forced economic hardships, and you don't think I would like that? Through the eyes of mysticism?
No. Did you watch the Deliverance film with like Glenn Close and she's like, I can smell your pussy?
Yeah, I love that. Dude, have we not talked about that?
I think we have. Remember how it started out so strong?
No, I just remember everyone online saying, no, we did talk about this. I don't know if we talked about it here because I said I will never listen to online critics ever again because my entire TikTok feed was like people saying this is the scariest movie and they had to do the Lord's Prayer. And then I watch it and realize that they're just fucking evangelical Baptists.
Yeah.
So listening to fucking Lady Gaga makes them think the devil's in their room. So our interpretations of things were different, but I do think everyone needs to watch that movie with Glenn Close and her fucking lace front.
okay, well, maybe this could be for you, but it gets a little churchy at the end. It's not nearly on the same level as Deliverance, but there is a lot of religion in this book. But
Mm.
I don't think you can avoid that considering what it is for the times. And one of their companions is literally a priest.
It's not a criticism of religion though. It's an encouragement. That's what
Um,
Deliverance was. The Deliverance was Christian propaganda, period.
I think, well, I don't think it was propaganda, but it's also not totally critical in a
Okay.
way. Oh, I don't want to give it away. I think it can fit parallels today where you can see how bad actors in Christian sects can ruin a fucking country.
Hmm.
It's very much like that. And then that small little subset of what I would say is like true Christianity is present in the book. So you see the bad actors and then the good faith.
Mm.
I don't know why I brought up Deliverance. There is a lot of badass shit that biblically happens in the book. So if that's not your cup of tea, I wouldn't recommend it. I do think you should give it the old college try because you made me watch that one creepy Venezuelan horror movie that one time, and now I feel like you have to like even the karma
Oh, you
out
didn't
and
like
read this
that?
fucking book. It isn't. I wouldn't say like. I mean, like friend of the podcast Ichabod read it, and he's not a church guy, and he loved it. So maybe that's just bad on me. Maybe that was just a bad interpretation of me thinking you wouldn't like it, but I'm
Um,
not quite sure. But
um,
I think you'll like 99% of it. So read 99% of it, and then if you're still in, maybe dip out.
okay. Well, okay, we'll see. I mean, also everyone just read Tender as a Flesh. So
Read
anyway,
Hex. Hex was good.
yeah, or Tender as a Flesh. Critics like John Wycliffe and do you think this is Jan or Juan House?
I'm gonna say yawn if it's
Jan. Oh
Bohemian.
yeah, Jan. Jan House. Where
Yawn.
Jan
Yawn House. It's Yawn House music.
Jan House. Jan House. Were emboldened to publicly criticize the church at this point. They could point to the schism and say, see, the church is corrupt. Jan Hus was executed in 1415, but his followers remained rebellious for decades.
Well, and these like proto reformers really scared the hell out of the church because they showed ideas could spread outside of Rome's control. And so what we see when this stuff happens is when power field threatens, it lashes out, which is exactly what happened. I mean, they started fucking killing people who were criticizing them.
Exactly. And these reformist ideas would set the stage for the Protestant Reformation a century later, but we're not going to get into that. But I like to give you context.
Thank
But
you.
you're welcome. Like the bubonic plague. The schism and points of criticism turned what was supposed to be a universal church into something fractured by politics. The Catholic Church would create the Council of Consonants 1414 to 1418 to end the Great Schism. At the council, the rival claimants either resigned or were deposed, and a new pope, Martin V, was elected, restoring a single papacy. The council also addressed heresy and attempted church reforms, but the memory of decades of division left lingering doubts about the pope's authority. And even after 1417, resentment and rivalries didn't just disappear. The church was supposed to be the unifying moral force of Europe, but the schism showed it was subject to corruption, so the papacy had to work double time to reassert itself. As we can see in the modern day, when shit starts to hit the fan, one of the quickest ways to try and reassert dominance and lie to remain in power is to blame something or someone else, aka scapegoating. And for the church, the scapegoat to save itself, show its power, and find someone to blame for its failings was none other than so called witches. Witch hunting would present the church as the defender of Christian society against chaos and the devil, which challenges from reform with challenges from I can't read with challenges from reform movements, the church became increasingly anxious about heresy, a belief or practice outside of its doctrine.
And this theological move was really psychological warfare because leaders learned that nothing unifies a population other than a common enemy with terror. We see it with what's happening now? We saw it with Hitler and the Jews. And once witches became the enemy within, fear could be weaponized to control entire towns.
Witchcraft was reframed during this time, not just as like local magic or superstition, but as a dangerous heresy aligned with Satan. This allowed the church to fold witch hunting into its broader mission of suppressing heresy to regain control. And like the definition of heresy as it was used in the 15th century was like not only anything outside of Christianity and Christian practices of religion, but also saying like, hey, I don't think it's very cool that the Pope has like a gold spoon that he like mixes his tea with. And they'd be like, heretic. So
Yeah, like any criticism of any
anything.
kind whatsoever. Like, hey, how come all the people involved in the church are billionaires?
And they're like,
Heresy.
that's that's the devil's tongue.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, making a podcast shirt that just says heretic on it would be kind of cute.
that would be kind of cute. Write that down. Write that down.
I'm writing it down.
The late 15th century was a period of nearly constant crisis in Europe. Plagues, including Chelsea,
Bubonic plague,
the Black
yay!
Death, had killed roughly 25 to 50 million people, about one third to one half of Europe's population at the time. In some regions, like parts of Italy and France, mortality may have been even higher, wiping out up to 60% of local populations. Famines and crop failure were frequent, making survival extremely difficult for ordinary people. The actual causes of these
Disasters.
disasters, such as the bacterium Yersinia pestis for the plague, poor harvests due to climate fluctuations and soil exhaustion were fairly unknown or not understood. People looked for explanations they could grasp, turning to the church for guidance, help, and reasoning. In this climate of fear and unanswered prayers, the church blamed witches as the hidden culprits behind these disasters, accusing them of blocking prayers to God, spreading disease, or spoiling crops. By identifying witches as a tangible enemy, communities gained a way to make sense of the chaos and restore a sense of control. This created the illusion of a clear cause and effect. Suffering existed because witches were interfering with God's will, and punishing or eradicating them would restore divine favor.
And villagers sometimes even dug up supposed witches and mutilated the corpses by like cutting out their hearts, burning their remains, driving nails through skulls to stop curses. And these rituals were, they really believed that they worked.
You want to know what's something funny and not funny?
Yes,
This
I
is
do.
this is also where we get like vampire lore. So when plagues would come through and like rip through villages, witches were a popular one, obviously, but in more rural areas, they were more into the like hokey tokey folklore, so
Mhm.
vampires. And they would be like, fucking John is a creep, man. John came into town with his fucking trench coat that one day, writing poems, and then like we all of the people got sick, and then John died, and everyone was like, I think he was the one who did it. And they would dig up John's body, and he was bloated in active decay, and they would be like, oh my God, look how full of everyone's blood he is. He was clearly a vampire sucking the blood out of everyone in the village. And that's where they would like drive the stake through him. He would pop full of blood and gas and decaying organs and fluid. And they would be like, we did it. We killed a vampire.
We had so much more fun back then.
We really did have a childlike sense of wonder.
Oh,
A
beautiful.
palpable.
Also, when you're like witches block curses, I'm just imagining me send or block prayers, me like sending up a little prayer and you just blocking it like meta world peace and just slapping it down into the ground.
Just spiking it.
Yeah.
And then doing like the commercial, they're like,
Like yeah, that's exactly what I
Yeah,
saw.
and that is actually true. Some would say an instance that happened in Utah was caused by in recent history.
No
and
one says that.
and unfortunately, those witches have now deactivated their Etsy stores. So who's to say they weren't onto something back then? But anyway, a palpable by Pope Innocent VIII called Summus Diserrantis Effectibus, 1484, was part of this effort to reassert church authority. It framed witchcraft as a real and urgent threat to Christendom and authorized inquisitors to go after witches. However, these Christian inquisitors, say that 10 times that fast, didn't know exactly what to look for or how to identify witches. This palpable also gave two Dominican inquisitors, Henrik Kramer and Jacob Springer, specific authority to prosecute witches in Germany. which allowed them to create and publish the reason why we're talking today, no other than the Malleus Maleficarum, Latin for Hammer of Witches, in 1487.
Yeah, insert death metal and lightning cracks. I'm not going to answer that post,
No,
but it would be cool if
no.
they did it.
Also listen to AFI's best song, Malleus Maleficarum. Um, it became the standard manual for identifying, prosecuting, and punishing alleged witches during the late Middle Ages and early modern period. Heinrich Kramer, the lead author, had a reputation for being overzealous and even fanatical. Oh, you don't fucking say.
Huh.
In 1485, he tried to persecute women in Isenbruck, Austria for witchcraft, but the local bishop dismissed him as unstable and ordered him to leave.
The real hero of the
Yeah.
story.
He said, get the fuck out.
It's like, this is a Wendy's.
The Malleus Maleficarum was partly his attempt to defend his authority and to make sure inquisitors like him couldn't be pushed out of towns again. The Malleus presented itself as the official follow-up to the above Pope's papal statement, though in reality it went much further than the church ever explicitly endorsed, of course, through lots of winks and nudges. Europe at the time was deeply patriarchal, and the late Middle Ages, early Renaissance saw anxieties about women's roles growing.
Yeah, it was over once a woman could learn how to read.
They said, "Oh, we're fucked. We're fucked." They know what we're doing. More women were working independently in towns. Women healers and midwives held important community roles outside of church control. And the Malleus channeled this anxiety into misogyny, painting women as naturally corrupt, hypersexual, and dangerous.
Yeah, and midwives in particular became targets because they held life and death power over childbirth, which was something the church could not control but really feared. So childbirth deaths were sometimes reframed as evidence that the midwife had cursed the baby or the mother.
And
not
totally not because they don't wash their hands.
Yeah, and not because they're trying to have a baby in the middle of the biggest plague in human history.
The Malleus,
other than just men existing.
That plague has never stopped. Let me go ahead and put my pink pussy hat on and listen to Taylor Swift's new album. JK. Listen to Patreon. Anyway,
I was on mute, but I laughed at that.
The Malleus Maleficarum formalized the idea that witches weren't just sinners, they were soldiers in the devil's army, making their eradication a holy war. The Malleus provided church and secular authorities with arguments to prove the existence of witches, introductions on how to detect them, or instructions on how to detect them, and guidance on legal procedures for witch trials, and it was broken up into three main parts. The first part argues that witches are real and dangerous, and that denying their existence is heresy. Direct quote from the Malleus. Whether the belief that there are such beings as witches is so essential a part of the Catholic faith that abstainedly to maintain the opposite opinion manifestly savors of heresy. So easy to read like that.
I mean, don't understand. Whether the belief there's such beings as witches,
it's like if you have to
believe it or die.
Yeah, believe it or die. And like if you don't believe it, it's manifesting the devil.
Oh my God. He writes how like a college young Republican talks.
I know, it's triggering. If a priest or judge spoke against witch hunts, they risked being accused themselves. This is why trials spread like wildfire. Once they started, it couldn't easily be questioned. One example of this is, do you think this is Johanna? I think he's also
I'm going to say Johann.
Johann. Mm-hmm. Johann Weyer, a physician in the 1500s who argued many accused witches were just women suffering from melancholia or depression, delusions, or other mental illnesses, and not in league with the devil. He also attacked the reliability of confessions gained under torture. His book, De Prestigiis Demonium, 1563, tried to calm the panic. His work scandalized theologians. Many churchmen said he was the devil's advocate protecting witches. Jean Bodin, the French jurist who wrote his own pro-witch hunt book, De la Démonin des Sorceresses, super awesome titles, 1580, denounced Johann as dangerous and heretical. Despite criticism, Weyer wasn't executed or exiled. He had noble friends who protected him, and he continued his career as a physician until his death in 1588 at age 73.
So you live right, you live, you can survive the plague and live to age 70.
Yep. If you believe in
Science
and
moral decency.
yeah, and just like common knowledge and thought, you will, survive. So he essentially died peacefully, which was unusual for someone who challenged witch hunt orthodoxy. Later Enlightenment thinkers cited Weyer as a pioneer of skepticism about witch trials. In modern psychiatry, he is sometimes called an early voice for recognizing mental illness instead of demonic possession.
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool.
I know, innovator.
Mm-hmm.
The first part of the Malleus also claimed that witches will intentionally harm Christians and undermine God's authority. It also portrays women as especially prone to witchcraft, citing their supposed moral and spiritual weakness, their carnal desires, and biblical examples like Eve. The authors leaned on misogynistic authorities like Aristotle, St. Augustine, and Thomas Aquinas, but exaggerated their claims. So they all made like super sexist remarks in some of their writings, and he was like, "See, you guys, everyone's been saying." So here is another direct quote from the Malleus. Do you want to read it, Chelsea?
Yeah. All wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman. What else is woman but a foe to friendship, an inescapable punishment, a necessary evil, a natural temptation, a desirable calamity, a domestic danger, a delectable detriment, an evil of nature?
It continues on. So, this alone set up the gender bias that meant 75 to 80% of accused witches in Europe were women. The Wurzburg trials of 1626 to 1631.
No, I believe that's Würzburg.
Würzburg was a Catholic prince bishopric in Germany during the 30 Years' War, a time of famine, plague, and constant religious conflict. Prince Bishop Philip Adolf von Ehrenberg was a zealous Catholic reformer who believed rooting out witches would purify his town. Over 900 people were executed in just 5 years. Victims included nobles, clergy, students, ordinary townsfolk, and even children. The youngest executed was around 9 years old. There are records of at least 27 children killed. Common charges were causing bad weather that destroyed crops, spreading the plague, and ironically, killing children or attending witch sabbats.
Yeah, killing children.
They said, you did it, but it's good when I do it. You do it bad when I do it good.
Yeah. Huh. Look at that. The argument lives on.
But accusations were also used politically. Even the prince bishop's own relatives and court members were accused. Some of the 900 victims included Dorothea Flock, a woman executed despite appeals from her husband to the emperor and the pope to halt the execution. She was condemned for allegedly killing her first husband by sorcery. This is a little brutal, so sorry. The child age 9 was a little boy who was accused of having a sexual relationship with the devil. Dozens of school children were burned for allegedly attending witch gatherings, and the mayor of, well, how do you want me to say this? Würzburg. His wife was accused and executed. Also, I just want to point out, history really do just be repeating itself, because here you have the church executing children by being like, they're bisexualizing them in like a pedophilic way.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, but we're righteous, even though
so
like
we're gonna kill him.
We're gonna kill him, even though like we're the ones, we the Catholic Church are sexually we are pedophilically sexualizing this child, but like,
oh, the Catholic Church, who's never sexualized a child once in their life, is saying that the sexualization of children is punished by death to children.
I know it might come as a shock, but just so funny to me that like these lineages of people have just extended on into the modern day, because you have like the same people who are like,
they be fucking women and children,
unfortunately, and like the same people who are like, Hillary Clinton eats babies are also the same ones who are like, the age of consent should be dropped to 12.
They're also the ones who are like, I believe in my Catholicism is the one true church. And the call has been coming from inside the house, I forget to say.
And then they get arrested for having like 200 billion fucking megabytes of child porn.
Yeah. Whoops.
So anyway, some notes from the trial records repeatedly describe these women as fragile in faith and vessels of Satan. Judges explicitly cited the Malleus Maleficarum's argument that women were more prone to witchcraft because of their carnal weakness in their rulings. Quote from the Malleus: "Witches, by the power of devils, sometimes actually transport themselves from place to place with the speed of the devil himself, who can, without any bodily motion, transfer himself in a moment from one place to another. They are in the habit of devouring and eating children, especially those who are not baptized, and it is for this reason that they are more often compelled to commit this crime." Also, just a little bit, they have to do a little bit of propaganda there to be like, but if
Yeah,
you're
not
baptized,
baptized. You'll be okay,
have you
kids.
guys thought about baptism? So,
Noelle, are you baptized? Are you saved?
unfortunately,
Saved, girly.
I
You would have
know.
been fine.
Well, actually, no, because I did the unbaptism.
Oh, you Uno reversed
Yeah,
it.
reversed. I was baptized as a child. It was very performative by my parents. They were just obliging their parents, as the generations will
What were you
do.
baptized as?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Um, and frankly, that's none of my business. But
Yep.
I have no idea. I also learned that my mom took us to Episcopal churches
Okay.
when I was younger. I don't know what that is, but
It doesn't matter.
she said that they had a lesbian like priest, like the head person of the church was a lesbian, and that's why she went. So I don't know
Yeah.
I don't know what the fucking differences are.
It's
So
a Protestant denomination, which is the same as all the other ones, basically.
of course, you guys just like give it up. Just like fucking stop with the fucking,
Mm-hmm.
the pyramid scheme of it all. So anyway, some of the means of torturing out a confession were the strappado, or the hoist. The accused hands were tied behind their back, then a rope was attached to their wrist and threaded over a pulley. Victims were hoisted into the air by their bound arms, often dislocating the shoulders. Sometimes they were suddenly dropped a few feet and jerked to a stop, multiplying the pain and tearing tendons. In Würzburg, many confessions of flying to sabbats came after strappado sessions because the pain was so unbearable, people say anything to make it stop. The next one we have, don't let the fun little name,
I know, it's so cute.
the Pillywinks.
The Pillywinks.
The Pillywinks, aka thumb screws.
Ah.
A vice-like device was with metal screws was placed around the thumbs and sometimes also toes. The screws were tightened gradually, crushing the bones and soft tissue. Records show Würzburg inquisitors used thumb screws to, quote, remind accused witches to tell the full truth if their confessions were, quote, incomplete, aka they weren't like saying they were a fucking witch.
Mm-hmm.
Often hot coals, irons, or candles were applied to bare flesh. In Würzburg, testimony notes showed burning the soles of the feet until confession was made. Sometimes fire was combined with other torture, e.g., the strappado. The victims were dangled while hot irons were pressed to their bodies. They really got creative.
Mm-hmm.
Other
They had nothing but time on their hands.
They really did. Other methods also used were the rack, stretching the body until joints dislocated, the witch's chair, or the iron chair, a spiked or heated chair where the accused were forced to sit, and the classic, still used to this day, sleep deprivation. Prisoners were kept awake for days until they broke down mentally and confessed, obviously used in tandem with everything above. Under torture, they, quote, confessed to impossible crimes like flying, attending sabbats, or copulating with demons. Confessions were then used to accuse others, creating chains of blame that spiraled out of control. One child prisoner, barely 10 years old, was tortured until he confessed to flying to a sabbat on a black dog, kind of cool, and eating roasted infant flesh. Again, conservative Republicans are never creative. They always pull something back.
Yeah.
Afterward,
we have no news story. Also, I'm curious, which one of these, if you had to pick one, would you want the least?
Want the least? I would. I mean, it's like saying who your favorite child is. I think that anything with fire would be tough. So I think like the witch's chair with spikes and being heated up would probably be the worst.
That's what I think. fire, like when I think about that like bowl that they used to use in Greece,
Yeah.
not for me. Maybe just the rack if I had to pick one.
Yeah.
Uh, maybe the
But they
rack.
would also like poke you with hot irons on the rack. So it's like they just
Motherfuckers. Then
love the
I
fire. They
guess,
love.
yeah, then I guess the strappado just rip my arms out
Yeah.
if I had to pick one.
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
Like you don't need to add insult to injury and be poking me. You know what I mean?
They
Like
have
only
to.
ugh.
Would you would you die tortured or confess to make it stop and then be killed?
You know, it's so easy to be like, I would die tortured. Fuck you.
Hmm.
You would probably like keep me awake for 20 minutes and I would be like, make it stop. My sleep is so precious. I would like to try to not confess.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, and this goes for confessions that are untrue
I
in
mean, you're
current
dead
day.
anyway.
You're gonna die anyway. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like confessing is not gonna save you. Like cops can lie. The clergymen can lie. Like they can be like, if you tell us, we'll let you go and you'll have a cookie. And then they hoist you over a fire. So,
Yeah, I think that's knowing if I would die anyway. I mean, I'm sure everyone is going to either be tortured to death or confess to stop the torture and then be killed.
yeah, in a torturous way anyway. So
It's sixes.
it's sixes. It's tough to say, but I'd like to think that I'd be like that classic Salem witch trials husband who, when they were like
Mole,
more,
wait,
yeah,
Giles Corey,
yeah, Giles Corey, I would be
friend of the
like more
podcast.
weight. Yeah, best friend of the podcast, Giles Corey, I would be like more weight. I'd
Yeah.
like to think that I could be that.
Or what's his other name? Like who was just like freedom when they cut out his intestines.
Oh yeah.
Who
Yeah.
was that? That wasn't Robert the Bruce. Who the fuck was that?
I
Who
don't know.
even played him?
You'll have to look it
Mel
up.
Gibson. Mel Gibson played
Oh
him.
God, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Of course.
Anyway, that's what you
So,
would like to think.
yeah.
I doubt most of us have the grapes, but I would like to try
Oh
to
yeah, I
be
would like to
grapey.
try. Yeah, I would
Why
like
that
to.
came out so wrong. I would like to try to have the grapes.
You would like to be grapey?
No.
Chris Hansen, she's in here.
No, no.
Anyway, so flying to the Sabbath on a black dog, eating roasted infant flesh. Afterward, he named several classmates who were also arrested and executed.
See, my luck is I would
Sorry.
probably get named by someone. I would try to not name anybody.
Mm.
I would just be like, your mom.
Yeah. What about if like you had a hater and an op? Would you
Oh,
name
I would
them?
name everyone who's ever wronged me. I'd be
Yeah.
like, there was a guy who had his dog in the back of his truck instead of in the cab driving down the freeway today. That guy's a witch.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I might get on with some of
I'll
that.
get, yeah, I'm gonna get mine. I'm not, but I'll try not to name anyone I actually
Yeah,
like.
we're gonna have a little fun. So
Yeah, I'll be like, you were there, and you were there.
everyone look under your chair.
Yeah, exactly. It's just Oprah and bees.
The trials finally ended with Prince Bishop Ehrenberg's death in 1631. His successor, less fanatical, halted the executions, but by then, Würzburg had been traumatized. Entire families were wiped out, and the social fabric of the city was scarred for generations. Also, would like to say that it didn't stop because, like, someone was like, knock it off. This is crazy. It just stopped because the next guy was like, so anyway.
Yeah, the next day I was like, I can't say that we're gonna stop it because then you'll kill me. So I'm just gonna quietly let it fizzle out on its own.
Classic politician move. So we also have the North Berwick witch trials in Scotland. James, King James the Sixth of Scotland, later James First of England, married Anne of Denmark in 1589. On their voyage back to Scotland, violent storms nearly wrecked their ship. When James heard rumors in Denmark of witches rising storms against royalty, he imported that idea home. Soon after, dozens of people, mostly women, around the town of North Berwick were accused of conspiring with the devil to assassinate him by sea magic.
Hell yeah. Sea magic is the coolest magic.
Some of the best magic. Some of the torture methods used were the witch's bridle, or scold's bridle. We saw this one with like the rumors and gossip episode.
Hmm.
An iron muzzle was clamped around the head with a spike bit thrust into the mouth. It pierced or pressed down on the tongue, making speech painful or impossible. Victims were paraded in public or kept gagged during interrogation, which is super awesome for hearing what they have to say.
Right? Like, how, whatever. I hate people. I hate this world.
I know. The Pillywinks again,
Oh,
used
the
as
Pinkwinks.
the Pillywinks.
That's where you dance in beautiful shoes until you die. That's what it sounds like.
It does. It does sound like there's a little like it sounds like there's a little fairy
Yeah, it
who
sounds like
lives in your
Shakespeare.
house. Yeah,
Shakespeare talked about this during Midsummer Night's Dream. I know he did.
I bet. And the Pillywinks was often used as the introductory torture before escalating to harsher methods.
Mm,
Share.
yeah.
The witch's mark and pricking. So interrogators searched the body for a devil's mark, a mole, birthmark, or blemish. So everyone's getting cooked. If one was found, it was stabbed with long pins or needles. The logic, if the accused felt no pain or did not bleed, it proved Satan had marked them. In practice, prickers often used retractable needles, or they would just like do a little sleight of hand magic, if you will, to fake results. Or, of course, they would purposefully misinterpret the rule of the devil's mark and say if it did hurt and did bleed, that was also a sign of the devil. So a classic
Moving the goalposts.
Yep. The cords, binding and crushing. The accused's limbs were tightly bound with ropes until blood circulation stopped and skin split. This was sometimes combined with sleep deprivation for days at a time. Some notable confessions under torture here. Agnes Sampson, a respected midwife and healer, she was stripped naked, shaved, and pricked for the witch's mark. She was tortured with cords and pillywinks until she confessed. She admitted to attending a sabbat with over 200 witches at North Berwick Kirk, raising storms by throwing a dead cat wrapped in human limbs into the sea, kissing the devil's anus as a sign of loyalty, which we also see in oh my god, I just blanked on the name. Haxon. Whew, almost lost it there. Haxon. An old silent black and white about witchcraft.
Oh, I was like, I have no idea what that is.
It's like very old, but you should watch it.
They're
Everyone should
kissing
watch it.
anuses in there.
There's a whole scene of them at a sabbat, like around a fire, and the
Just
devil's
eating
bent.
ass.
Yeah, they just eating the devil's
Interesting.
ass. It's very cool and heavy metal, some would say. So she was executed by garroting and burning in 1591. Garroting was when a person would be strangled with a cord wire or iron collar, sometimes tightened with a screw. This was often done before burning, so the condemned was dead or nearly so before the flames.
I'll just take the edge off. Okay.
Yeah. Dr. John Fane, who knows? Maybe we have the same fake last name. Accused of leading the coven, his fingernails were pulled out with pincers. Needles were driven into. Also, please, it's not lost that he was a doctor and he was the one who was accused of leading the coven. So people hate science and medical practice. So,
You know what? I bet you pronounce his last name Fauci.
Yeah, and he actually was accused of giving the children Tylenol. So his fingernails were pulled out with pincers. Needles were driven into the tips of his fingers.
I don't know why that's bothering me the most.
After the nail has been removed, so it's just like that fleshy,
like poking it with a needle. Yeah, I don't know why that's bothering me. Like these other torture methods that lead to death, I'm like, oh, that's awful. But this one is like clenching me.
It's a little nasty. His legs were crushed in the boot, which was an iron casing into which wedges were hammered, shattering the shin bones. And despite horrific injuries, he initially refused to confess and even retracted earlier statements. But unfortunately, under torture, as it continued, he admitted to making a pact with the devil, flying through the air on a magical horse, summoning storms against King James, and he was strangled and burned in the same manner as Agnes.
Yeah, see, even if you like try to hold out and do a good job, they're just gonna get you.
They're still gonna get you.
Like the best bet is that the torture kills you.
Yeah.
And sends you into shock before you can like name anyone else. That's like best case scenario is dying.
Yeah, literally. Which sucks because if you're like, just fucking kill me, they won't. So
yeah.
King James published Demonology in 1597, which defended witch hunting and torture. His personal obsession with North Berwick helped spread witch hunts across Scotland in the early 1600s. The second part of the Malleus catalogues witches' supposed activities, including but not limited to making pacts with the devil, flying to secret gatherings or sabbats, causing illness, death, or infertility, cursing crops and livestock, engaging in sexual acts with demons, succubi, or incubi.
Chatting with friends, having a good time,
smiling,
enjoying sunlight,
reading,
enjoying sleep. Yeah, being able to read, drinking tea, being hydrated, sneezing,
washing your hands, brushing your hair.
Monstrous. So once, like literally everything bad that was uncontrollable, so like stillbirth, hailstorms, cows dying, got blamed on someone nearby. So entire villages turned suspicious overnights. And then in desperate attempts to prove loyalty, neighbors were reporting neighbors were reporting neighbors. And these sabbats were described in lurid, bloody detail: feasts of stolen infants, orgies with demons, unholy baptisms. And these tales made it really easy to dehumanize the accused and then make a huge fueled mob just full of rage.
It's interesting that the United States would go on to say, hey, we really liked what you did back then. We're going to go ahead and take this and reuse it for, yeah, for McCarthyism. We just
I'm
really
so
love
glad that there is a loneliness epidemic. That's how I sleep at night.
I know. Sometimes I think they're not lonely enough, but
I agree.
Also, to derail again, so last podcast on the left is doing their Heimler, what's his name? Fucking Mr. Hitler the second. Himmler. There we go. Yeah.
Heinrich Himmler?
Heinrich Himmler, that's it.
We went to public school, girl.
They didn't teach us about the Nazis. They were allies. So they're doing their episode on him, and I haven't gotten too far in it, but they talk about how Hitler was inspired to like do genocidal Holocaust of the Jews by watching what the Americans did to the natives. So
yeah,
it's history. We're
it's
all just
circular
copying, off each other's papers. Yep.
Yeah.
People are just going, hey, I really like what you did there. So anyway, these descriptions are a mix of folklore, superstition, and Kramer's imagination, but they were treated as fact. The third part of the Malleus is a guide for inquisitors and judges on prosecuting witches. It recommends torture to extract confessions, arguing that witches would never confess voluntarily. A quote from the Malleus: "The judge shall strive to obtain a confession by every artifice, but without the use of violence. Yet the torture is to be continued again and again, as often as it shall seem good to the judge."
I don't see how violence and torture aren't in the same.
It's fun
category.
Though, but they say like don't do violence unless they need to confess. So it's fun. It's a legal loophole. It's fun.
I wonder if, knowing what we know now, if we could talk our way out of this.
I doubt it. I think they just wanted at a certain point, like they get so frenzied that it doesn't matter what you say. You're gonna go for sure.
Yeah. Like if I could be like, I know where the Dead Sea Scrolls are because I was sent here to help you.
If you were to do time traveler shit and then be like, I'm actually a disciple of God, here's proof because I found the Dead Sea Scrolls, you were all going to hell and should kill yourself right now.
Yeah, like could we flip it? But then they would be like, where's the Dead Sea Scrolls? And then once again, I'd be like, the Dead Sea? And public school would once again get me.
They'd be like, on a map, show me where that is, and then we would die.
Have you ever heard what like English sounded like back then? We wouldn't have been able to communicate.
Yeah, we would have been cooked.
English back then was so Germanically like it's like who you can and they're like, and that's how your welcome started. It's insane.
Yeah, I don't think there would be any surviving it, honestly. So
okay. Well, I would name you as a witch before I went.
Thank you. That's all I want.
Yeah.
So this legal loophole essentially authorized unlimited torture until the victim confessed. Anna Goldie was a poor servant woman in Switzerland. She worked in the household of Dr. What do you think this is? It's Swiss. Schutzi. A powerful physician and politician. She had an affair with Schutzi, But when she tried to leave his service, it caused issues. Soon afterward, his daughter allegedly fell mysteriously ill. The child claimed she found pins and needles in her food and milk, supposedly placed there by Anna, through witchcraft, obviously. When the girl suffered seizures, it was said Anna had bewitched her. Though Switzerland had technically outlawed witch trials, authorities skirted the ban by charging Anna not with witchcraft, but with poisoning through magical means.
Smart. That's smart. You got to make a
I know.
loophole.
Despite this taking place in the Enlightenment era, Anna endured classic witch trial tortures. She got the rack. Anna was bound hand and foot to a wooden frame. Interrogators turned rollers to stretch her body, pulling joints from their sockets. Like in Würzburg and North Berwick, Anna was denied rest for days while interrogators questioned her relentlessly. Records mention her, quote, resistance was broken under this treatment.
Yeah, like after days of no sleep and being literally ripped apart. Okay. She was a little fussy.
Yeah, they said. They're like,
she's
we
like,
just had to. Yeah.
Hysteria in women again.
They're so dramatic. Under torture, Anna admitted to having made a pact with the devil, using sorcery to harm the child through the temptations of flesh, a nod to the Malleus's obsession with women's supposed lust, and demonic sexuality. Even though she retracted these confessions once the torture stopped, the court used them as evidence. Anna was condemned in June 1782. She was publicly beheaded by sword in Glarus on June 13th, 1782.
Okay, beheaded by sword is the best way to go so far.
It's pretty metal. Locals whispered she was really killed because she threatened to expose, how do we say his name again? Schutzies. Sexual exploitation of her.
See, Switzerland has always had their finger on the pulse. I know they still got her.
Yeah.
But
people were like, you guys, this is like not good.
This is clearly something bigger is happening here.
And you're gonna,
this man is a pervert.
You're gonna really love this next part. Anna is often called the last witch executed in Europe. Her case became infamous in Switzerland, debated as a miscarriage of justice even in her own century. In 2008, 226 years later, the Swiss parliament they officially exonerated Anna Goldi, recognizing her as a victim of a politically motivated show trial. Today, there's an Anna Goldi museum in Enida, Switzerland, dedicated to human rights and remembering victims of superstition and abuse of power.
Oh, that'd be so cool to go to. We don't have any cool museums like that.
Yeah, because we haven't accepted that we did human atrocities yet, because we're still doing them. So they're not going to make a museum about it.
Yeah, we got to wait a little, I guess. Yeah.
So let's jump back into part 3 of the Malleus with some direct quotes. The names of the witnesses are not to be revealed to the accused. Okay. Wonder how that helps them. Even if a witch has been acquitted, the judge may find ways of punishing her on other charges, lest she escape entirely unpunished.
Oh, that's not fair.
Yeah. Yeah, to say the least.
That's a little unfair here.
This meant the trial was rigged from the start. Crying in court, evidence of guilt. Denying the charges, evidence of guilt. Silence, also guilt. The Bamberg witch trials were among the largest and most brutal in Europe, often called the German witch craze at its peak. Classic Germans. Always have to take it to the next level.
Well, they don't like to do anything half-assed, I guess.
They're a textbook case of Malleus Maleficarum style justice taken to an insane scale. Bamberg was a Catholic prince-bishopric in the Holy Roman Empire. Prince Bishop Johann, oh my God. Johann, how do you say George in German?
I think it's just George.
Great.
Fuchs? Is that Fuchs or Fuchs? It's Fuchs. Fuchs von Dornheim.
Nicknamed Haxen Bischof. Say that in German accent, will you?
Hexenbischof.
That was a stretch.
Hexenbischof.
Or witch bishop. Oversaw the trials. He built a special prison called the Drudenhaus. The witch's house.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Got that one for you. A dedicated torture chamber for interrogating the accused. They love a dedicated torture chamber over in fucking Germany.
Like the toy box killer.
God. Between 600 and 1,000 people were executed in just a few years. Victims included nobles, wealthy merchants, council members, priests, and ordinary villagers once again. Entire families were wiped out. In some villages, no woman over 15 survived without accusation. Children and teenagers were also amongst the accused.
You know what? Children, target market for the church.
Mm-hmm.
Teenagers, target market.
Mm-hmm.
The local men.
Yeah.
Once you got over 15 in the Middle Ages, you were washed up.
They're like, get this thing out of
Washed
here.
up. Yeah. Old crone. Send him to the Golden Girls house.
Yeah, the Catholic Church still abides by that. So, torture methods used were the rack, the strappado, fire torture, and hot irons applied to the feet, armpits, or genitals, which caused prisoners to often lose consciousness before confessing, seen as guilt.
Which is literally no winning.
No, there never is. The boot, where legs were crushed between boards or iron casings with wedges hammered in, shattering bones. Many Bramberg confessions came after the boot, destroying the victim's legs. Under these conditions, prisoners confessed to the classic Malleus-style crimes, signing pacts with the devil in blood, riding wolves or broomsticks through the sky, attending sabbats with feasts of roasted children, causing frost, hail, and bad harvest by casting spells into rivers. A priest, Johannes Junius, do you think that's right?
I think it's just Johans.
Eunice, it doesn't matter. He was accused in 1620. Actually, it does matter. He was pretty metal. Sorry, your name is hard. We went to fucking public school in America. They don't like teach us about anyone else and their accents. Tortured with thumb screws, the strappado, and fire, he confessed to having intercourse with a demon, renouncing God at a sabbat, and riding through the air with witches. Before his execution, he secretly smuggled a letter from prison to his daughter Veronica. In it, he wrote, "Innocent I came to prison, innocent I was tortured, innocent I must die. For whoever comes into the witch prison must become a witch or be tortured until he invents something out of himself. And God pity him. I must name many, good and bad. I must say that I saw them at the Sabbath. I must spread lies about them. If I do not, the torture is renewed until I invent something. In the end, I had to name my own dear friends." He was executed by burning in 1628.
Also, did not expect Veronica as a name to pop up in the 1600s. I don't know why I thought that was a modern name.
Apparently not. She was
I mean,
cool
that's so
back then.
sad.
Yeah. And it's also interesting to think that he was a priest. And so like to get to this point and then like have this moment of clarity before they were about to burn him at the stake.
Yeah.
It's probably very heavy. It for people who are religious, I bet this is like a very heavy thing to think about, like to be like a man of God. That's your job, I guess, and have to realize that you have to do this, like, because it's not going to stop.
Yeah, and knowing that
It was wrong.
in like the weakest part, like the weakest moment, you accused friends and then being like, fuck, dude, maybe I'm going to go to hell because I just dragged people into this with me. I bet it was horrifying physically and mentally.
Yeah. As you can suspect, defense lawyers were forbidden. Even acquittals were discouraged. Judges were told their own souls were at risk if they failed to convict. The Holy Roman Emperor Ferdinand II eventually intervened. By 1631, the trials were halted, but by then, Bamberg was devastated, its economy ruined, its population traumatized, and hundreds of families erased.
Well, and it was terrifying because it openly stated that normal law didn't apply because the accused, everyone was like, well, they need to be chained, deprived of sleep, tested with these excruciating torments until they confess. And the book even suggested ways to fake mercy. Like they would tell them, promise safety to get a confession, and then they would just execute them anyway. And then the execution themselves became public horror shows, like the hangings, burnings, and then in Germany, especially the breaking of the wheel. And these were staged to warn crowds, like either repent or risk the same fate. So people were pouring into the church financially as well.
Almost like their plan worked.
Like a Ponzi scheme.
The Malleus spread widely across Europe, second in popularity only to the Bible at one point, and fueled witch hunts that resulted in thousands of executions between the 15th and 18th centuries. Even at the time, Not everyone accepted it. Some church authorities criticized the book as too extreme, but it nevertheless became extremely influential in shaping witchcraft prosecutions.
And the book took scattered folk fears and codified them into the image of the witch that still lives on in pop culture. We still think witch. We see them with broomsticks, sabbats, pacts with the devil, ideas of women's bodies as being dangerous and transgressive. And
Wow, Freudian slip.
horror storytellers keep going back to this era because it's the perfect storm of dread. You had real death and torture, invisible blame being placed on neighbors, and the weaponization of fear by powerful institutions. And that's the DNA of so many modern witch movies and books, from The Bewitched to Suspiria to shows like American Horror Story, Coven, which frame persecution and paranoia. And it's also why witches became icons for outsiders and rebels, because it was a system built to silence women, healers, nonconformists, accidentally created a lasting symbol of defiance. And today, calling yourself a witch can be about reclaiming power by saying, I won't be controlled by your fear narrative. And if you look into modern conspiracy culture, i.e., the Satanic Panic of the 80s, QAnon witch hunts online, you see the exact same playbook. It's the attempt to take down a population scared by change or disaster. So you invent a hidden enemy and promise safety if everyone hunts it down. The Malleus would feel very at home on the internet. So while this all started as a power grab by a church in crisis, it ended up giving horror creators a century-spanning archetype. The terrifying, misunderstood witch, sometimes evil, sometimes a victim, always a mirror for society's fears.
Fantastic, fantastic end there, Chelsea.
Thank you.
And yeah, I mean, witch stories, much like vampire stories, seem to never go out of favor because they're always, like you said, mirroring society's fears. So it's no wonder why we have current witch hunts going on to this day in the modern era. But speaking of ways you can support witches, I am at Noelle Fain. That is at Sith Lord. We are at
Wait, I want to ask real quick.
What
would the what is the modern depiction for the modern witch? Do we think it's blue hair?
No.
Septum ring?
No.
What do we think it is?
That's outdated.
Okay.
It's outdated already.
What would be in the Malleus for people like us today?
Well, I think the Malleus today is quote unquote Antifa being marked as a domestic terrorist that should be gone after and tried as a terrorist, despite
right. Yeah.
Antifa being an ideology with no leader, leading central point, command center, whatever. It's just being anti-fascist. It's an ideology. So I think that the Malleus is that current presidential decree. And I think the modern witch is just someone who pushes up against that system.
The modern witch supports Palestine.
Yeah. The modern witch supports Palestine. The modern witch is anti-fascist. The modern witch stands up and says, like, this administration is actively ripping away rights and safety nets and securities to gain power. The modern witch says the billionaire class rules America and is keeping you starved and sick. That's the modern witch trial right now that we are currently in, and it's not a metaphor. It's actually happening. I think next month, the CEOs of like YouTube and fucking Twitch are going on trial, congressional trial, as to why they let terrorists on their site, terrorists being people like Hassan Piker. Maybe one day Spotify will be put on trial and will be brought up as the domestic terrorist.
For making everyone listen to that new Taylor Swift album.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
So the witch hunts have never stopped. They've just changed what their version of the Malleus looks like and the directives given, but the template is still used. So
anyway, I'm Sith Lord.
At Noelle Fain, at Sith Lord. We are at Go to Hell Podcast, and you can find us everywhere. Just don't I'm really bad at Facebook. Just don't talk to me on Facebook. Talk to me literally anywhere else. But You can find us online, and in our bios online, we have link trees, which if you click that, it'll bring you to everything related to the podcast. It'll bring you to our Patreon. $1 gets you in. Fun little episode. We do some callbacks on this one. So sorry you're gonna have to pay $1 there. Also, forgot to say this on Patreon. Our recordings of the panels at FanX just did not work.
Oh, mine worked,
Well,
except for one, which was the
must
good one. The Women in Horror panel recorded nothing.
yeah, mine did not. I think it's because I dropped my phone in the
Mm,
bath that one time. So
we'll get them up eventually. I just have to do it.
yeah, so some of them are up. So sorry, mine mostly are not. But anyway, link to Patreon. $1 gets you in. We might be doing a giveaway, maybe. You'd have to listen to the episode on Patreon to figure that out. But we also have a link to our YouTube channel. Please leave us hate comments. We love to see it. We have a link to our merch where 100% of proceeds are donated. We have cool shit in there that is made by Kelly Holloran
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Kelly.
At the time of recording, it is her birthday
Happy
today.
birthday, Libra princess. October baby supremacy. Kelly Holloran is on Etsy as oh my God, I just blinked.
Wildwood Owl.
Wildwood Owl. I just had a brain fart.
Wow, on her
And
birthday.
she makes cool shit for us. She makes cool shit in general. Go check her out and wish her happy birthday, which I'm going to on Discord right now, which reminds me that we also have a link to our Discord channel. So join that. And we also have a link to, I don't know why you'd need it, but it's everywhere where you can listen to us, which is honestly and unfortunately anywhere that podcasts are heard. So that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go ahead and give a hail to everyone who came out to the panels at FanX. I'm going to give a hail to Chelsea for participating, and I'm going to give a hail, as always, to every person throughout history who has pushed up against the system, even if it meant getting the fucking pillywinks.
Yeah, hail cute names for things that are involved in torture and no, not hail that. Hail Noelle for bringing horror back to FanX, and fingers crossed that she will bring horror back to Salt Lake with some new projects that are getting put on her plate. I will help where I can.
Yeah.
And I will be a cheerleader for the SEO that I will help write to make sure that people can find where those things are.
Yeah.
So,
yep. We'll keep you posted on that as it develops, but it'll be cool. Happy beginning to October. Super excited as always to get some fun little themed episodes up this month. I also hope that we can drive the Tesla through the cemetery and see if we can find any little ghosties. So
let's do that tomorrow if you end up coming out.
Oh yeah. So anyway, happy October, everyone. Yeah, let's get the fuck out of here.
All right, bye.
Bye.